Vine stirred. Her eyes slowly opened and she looked at her surroundings. Her eyes widened when she saw Jungkook's hand on her waist while he was sleeping. She immediately pushed his hand away and sat up on the bed. As long as she remembers, she slept with him on the bed because his parents wouldn't like it if she didn't, but on the condition that there will be a pillow between them. But what the hell was his hand doing on her waist? Jungkook got up when she threw his hand and he smiled as he looked at her the first thing in the morning. He couldn't ask for anything more. He chuckled as he looked at her, clutching the blanket tightly. Why? Why are you laughing? What did you do? Jungkook, you should know it better. What you did to me in your sleep. He said the last line in a deep, mocking voice and licked his lips. Wine. What do you mean? I didn't do anything. Jungkook, I wonder what was it, he said and walked towards the bathroom with the most sassy walk ever known to mankind, while Vine looked at him, literally wanting to throw up. Vine, does he think he's looking cool while doing that? She shrugged and went downstairs, hoping to find something to cook and then eat, as she was really hungry because she didn't eat anything at the night as well. But after a few minutes, she was inside her bedroom again, after her mother in law told her that the breakfast will be delivered to their room and that she should rest because she must have had a tiring night. Vine smiled awkwardly and went to her bedroom again. As soon as she entered, she saw Jungkook wearing a towel on his waist while he was standing against the mirror, making his hair. Vine shouted and immediately looked away. Jungkook noticed her and looked at himself. Oh, I remember I got married. He chuckled as he looked at her while she was looking at the other side. He went towards her and pulled her inside the bedroom from her waist. She whimpered and he closed the door, getting in front of her. Vine, what are you doing? Wear your clothes, she said while looking down. Jungkook got closer to her. Why? We're husband and wife now. You don't need to be shy, he said and wrapped his arm around her waist, making his bare abs touch with her torso. Her hands fell on his bare chest and she looked at him, frozen at her place. Time stopped for a few moments when they looked at each other while standing at their places without moving. Then, when Vine came to her senses, she pushed him away slightly, and he backed down without resisting, her heart pounding in her chest and her breathing fastened. Vine, I will. She didn't know what to make out of this. Why does my heart rate start racing up when I get close to him? Why do I always get lost in those eyes? It's the same as last night. Last night I promised myself that I wouldn't give in from now on. But I can't control myself, she thought to herself while looking down. She went to the bed and sat down. Your mom said that she will send the breakfast. I will take a shower, she said and rushed inside the bathroom, trying to escape the awkwardness. The cook smiled widely because everything about her is attractive for him, whether she is angry and annoyed. He loved her so much, although he used to tease her in high school. But it was after graduation when he knew he wouldn't be able to see her anymore. That's when he realized that he loved her and he can't live without her. But it was too late then. But now that he has another chance, he will never let her go. But teasing her like old school days should be fine, he chuckled. She came out of the bathroom after a few minutes, her hair wet and her face glowing when the sunlight from the window fell on her face. Jungkook looked at her and felt as if an angel came to his room. He couldn't stop watching her. Why? What are you looking at? Jungkook, without moving his eyes. You. Why? Of course it's me. I can see. But why are you looking at me like that? Jungkook. Like what? Why? Like, like you're going to. She stopped and turned around to look in the mirror and started combing her hair. Jungkook. You didn't reply me? Why? Last time I checked, there was nothing like that on our marriage contract. I don't need to reply you. He didn't reply. She didn't say anything. She looked in the mirror for a few seconds without doing anything, and a tear fell from her eye. She had to ask him about this. She knew he was a monster, but to this extent, this was the only reason she was trying her best not to get close to him. Why? It feels like you don't have any problem with this marriage, don't you? Jungkook. Of course not. I'm enjoying my time here to my fullest, he said while looking at the phone, hands not able to see her tears. One. I knew that. You don't care about anything, right? You just think of girls like your slaves. If it's not one, then the other. As long as they can provide you what you need. Pleasure, she said without any facial expression. He looked above from the phone towards her as soon as he heard her, and his eyes widened when he saw the tears flowing from her eyes. She was serious? Is that what she thinks of me? He thought and scoffed. Jungkook, is that what you think of me? He asked while staying at his place. Why? There's no need to think. You're a monster. You don't love. You cannot love. Jungkook's breathing slowed down as he looked at himself and said to her, You're being cruel, you know. Why? And what you are doing isn't cruel? She asked loudly as she turned back to face him. Why? Why did you marry me? You were about to marry my sister, but when she ran away, you didn't even think once before marrying me. You don't even have any remorse towards my sister. Marriage is just a tool for you, isn't it? If you didn't get my sister, you married me. That was enough, Wine, he said loudly. Do you even know about your sister before leeching out of me? I was being forced to marry her. I didn't even like her, but according to her, she loved me and proposed this marriage to my parents. Jungkook. I told her I didn't like her, but she didn't stop until she made my parents agree because of that business. The same business for which your parents forced you to marry me when your sister ran away. Jungkook. Now tell me, am I a tool? She said she loved me. Then why did she run away? I already didn't want to marry her, but I had to. And now when she ran away, no one even asked me how I felt about this and forced me to marry you. Don't I look like a tool here? Wine stayed frozen, processing Jungkook's words. She never thought about his perspective. She had been too wrapped up in her own misery. Jungkook, she whispered. She wanted to say something. She wanted to comfort him. She wanted to apologize, but she didn't know how to do it. He exhaled angrily and walked towards the bathroom door, but he stopped when Wine suddenly back-hugged him. Her arms wrapped around his bare abs and her head rested on his back. Wine, I'm sorry. I know it won't be enough, but I didn't know what else to say. I'm really sorry. I didn't know. She started crying when her grip against his waist tightened, and he was looking at her hands, unable to understand her. Wine. I'm sorry I called you a monster. You don't deserve this. Jungkook gently held her hands and turned back to face her. He leaned down to match her height and wiped her tears. She didn't push him away. Not this time. Jungkook, I wasn't trying to hurt you. I'm sorry. Sorry for everything, from high school till today. She looked back in his eyes, and he hugged her in an instant. She felt the warmth of his embrace, and for a moment, it seemed like all the tension and misunderstandings dissolved. Wine. I want to believe you, Jungkook. I really do. Jungkook. I promise, Wine. I'll do my best to make this work. I don't want to be the reason for your tears anymore. Just then, a knock on the door interrupted their moment. It was Jungkook's mother, bringing in the breakfast tray. She looked at him, attached with each other, while Jungkook was half naked. She fake coughed while putting the tray on the bed. I'm sorry if I interrupted anything. Don't mind me. You can continue. Vine immediately broke the hug and said, No, you're not. She smiled and rushed outside without letting them say anything. Jungkook scoffed, thinking that his mother is also like her. Jungkook, let's eat. Wang nodded once and sat on the bed awkwardly, starting to eat their meal in silence. Despite the awkwardness, there was a newfound sense of understanding between them, and they didn't want to let this go.